Sirius is a binary star system consisting of two white stars, Sirius A and Sirius B. However, it is actually a triple star system with a third star, Sirius C, existing in an orbit between Sirius A and Sirius B. The orbit of Sirius C keeps changing as space-time warps due to the movements of Sirius A and Sirius B. Consequently, Sirius C cannot be observed by our astronomical instruments, as it exists in a slightly higher dimension than our own. There are many planets with different densities in the Sirius star system, some inhabitable and some not. The beings living on the planets of the Sirius A star system are mostly humanoid. They are about 2.5 meters tall, with gray, brown, or light gray skin, large black eyes, and cone-shaped heads. Their brains have 3 parts, 2 for understanding their reality, and 1 for connecting with other realities. They have an extra lobe above the frontal region, which gives them stereoscopic vision. This allows them to see both the inside and outside of an object, as well as its opposite side in the third dimension. They can also communicate with other species across time and space. On one of their most inhabited planets, there are 2 large continents and small seas. 2 suns orbit their planet, with the larger one being their main sun. They experience 2 sunrises and 2 sunsets and have 5 moons. Most of the land on the larger continent consists of deserts and rocky terrain, with a few forests scattered across certain areas. Their civilization was one of the founding members of the Galactic Confederation. These are the Sirian people of higher densities. They have visited Earth many times, including during the time of the dinosaurs, to observe how our world was evolving. They have always cared for Earth's evolution, watching from above, until the Arcturians created a species they could communicate with, Homo sapiens. About 2 million years ago, the Sirians began incorporating some of their own DNA into the genetic material of Homo sapiens' ancestors. They helped shape the bodies we have today. These Sirians are fourth-dimensional beings of higher densities. They are much more evolved technologically and spiritually than we are. They are a very neutral race, with a philosophy centered on neutrality, without bias or judgment toward light or darkness, focusing instead on maintaining the balance of the universe. They excel in architecture and helped build the pyramids and temples of Egypt. Sirius is home to one of the most advanced training centers, known as the Mystery Schools, where ascended masters travel for learning. It also serves as a meeting place for beings from across the galaxy who wish to continue their spiritual studies. Besides the humanoids, indigenous to their star systems, there were also blue-skinned Sirians, descendants of Lyrans, due to the genetic mixing of Lyran and vegan refugees. After the Lyran-Draconian Wars, some Lyran and vegan refugees fled to Sirian planets and established new homes there. As a result, other Sirian races, typically with blue skin, were descendants of these Lyran and vegan refugees. Most of the original beings in the Sirius B and Sirius C star systems were aquatic and amphibian humanoids, such as the Nommo, who visited Earth thousands of years ago. The beings living on the planets of the Sirius B star system were primarily aquatic and did not feel the need to evolve for life on land. The planets of both Sirius B and Sirius C are mostly water, with very little landmass compared to Earth. These Sirian merpeople were not the beautiful mermaids depicted in Earth's mythologies. They would have been considered ugly or fish-like by Earth's standards. They had greenish skin that could change to multiple colors at will, like a rainbow, much like a chameleon, They had humanoid upper bodies and fish-like lower torsos and legs. They were often depicted in Babylonian, Akkadian, and Sumerian myths, as well as in the myths of the Dogon. Some depictions of the Egyptian goddess Isis, said to have originated from Sirius, portray her as looking like a mermaid. Isis's connection with Sirius is also linked to her role as a mother goddess, similar to Sirius, which is considered the mother civilization of humanity. The Babylonian water god, Oannes, was also said to be half man, half fish. Besides the mer people, there were also other types of aquatic beings and amphibian humanoids in the Sirius B and Sirius C star systems. On one of the Sirian planets with many moons, another type of amphibious beings lived there. Their planet was mostly covered by water, with only a few islands. These islands were submerged for half of the year and exposed for the other half. This cycle was caused by a large moon that pulled the water from one side of the planet to the other, constantly changing the weather and the lifestyles of the inhabitants. They spent half of the year on land and the other half in the water. Their cities were made up of tunnels within mountains and beneath plains. Their cities were structured with membranes that kept water in certain areas. All beings that could not live in the water would retreat to the highest mountains. Their cities were not large, but small towns connected by underground tunnels. These beings had frog-like faces with 4 backward-bending horns. Their brains had 4 parts, and they communicated by vibrating within their brains, similar to sonar in the water. They had membranes in their hands and feet, enabling them to thrive underwater. Their society and civilization resembled that of ants living underground and in the sea. They assumed roles based on their responsibilities, and there was no concept of family on this planet because everyone was born from eggs. Circles of wise individuals determined the destiny of every egg and being on the planet. They decided which egg belonged to which group, so that individuals could join others who resonated with them and shared the same level of evolution. Thus, the location where one would find their family was determined by society. Their main islands usually had no water for half of the year, so they harvested fruits and roots for food until the water returned. Life on this planet was primarily agricultural. The amphibious beings living there were not very good at walking on land. They walked like gorillas or monkeys because they were not adapted for life on the ground. For the rest of the year, when water returned to the islands, they spent most of their time in the water. They swam like mermaids, but had the shapes of frogs. Their culture was deeply connected to the moons. Their planet was known as the planet with 1,000 satellites. It had rings similar to those of Saturn, a result of the destruction of a large moon, with all its pieces orbiting the planet. Thus, their culture was intertwined with the spirits of the lights from those moons. The planet had 2 distant tiny suns, Sirius A and Sirius B. These 2 sunrises and sunsets provided constant light due to the reflections of the moons. Consequently, their entire world was very awake, with all emotional expressions exposed. There was nothing to hide, which was very different from Earth. They had no emotions related to concepts of mother, father, or brothers, because everything they felt was visible to the outside world. Therefore, they had a very neutral culture, as there was nothing to conceal. The beings living on this planet were a very peaceful race. When the Draconians started invading some planets to take energy from those worlds, This planet became one of their targets. However, these Sirian beings didn't have weapons to defend themselves because they were an extremely peaceful race, living a simple agricultural life. As a result, they could only use their mouths to bite their enemies. There was another Sirian race called the Nommo that visited Earth thousands of years ago. They came from the Sirius C star system, which cannot be observed by our astronomical instruments. The Sirian people used to follow the consciousness equator, a line that extended from Peru to Rapa Nui, Cambodia, Pakistan, Iraq, Egypt, the Sahara Desert, Cape Verde, and Brazil. This line connects the equator of consciousness of Earth and was the route they followed when they visited. That's why you can see Sirian influence in those regions, particularly in Egypt and the Dogon tribe in West Africa. The Nommo were amphibious, hermaphroditic, fish-like creatures with humanoid upper torsos and legs, and a fish-like lower torso and tail. They were teachers of cosmology and other knowledge. When they visited the Dogon tribe, they taught them cosmology, the use of symbolic representations of energy centers, the application of symbols, and various energy patterns to transmute negative vibrations into positive ones and to uncover the secrets of the universe. They also taught the Dogon people how to use the social memory grid to traverse space and time and enter different timelines to meet them. In general, the Sirian people are a very benevolent race. They play an important role in human history and our galaxy, holding a major seat in the Galactic Confederation and watching over planets in evolution. Their primary philosophy is neutrality. Since most of their planets have two suns, they usually don't experience darkness. This is one reason they can take a leadership role in the Galactic Confederation, along with their ability to connect with different realities because they don't have duality. This enables them to remain unbiased and non-judgmental in maintaining the balance of the universe, as the universe requires both light and darkness to evolve. They have been among the guardians of Earth and our galaxy since before humans appeared and continue to be so today. Therefore, we can consider Sirius our mother civilization and the Sirian people our ancestors from the stars.